All right, so Lord Ingram and the angel. This is what Biden would do.
Some Americans may be thinking that voting for Joe Biden in November will be a vote against Trump. But maybe it's time to look at things a different way. Namely, if you vote for Biden, what exactly will you be voting for? How will America change? First thing you have to realize is that anything Biden says about being tough on China, about pushing made in America stuff, is a total lie. Biden has spent nearly half a century in politics, including 8 years as vice president, to show us that he was an economic populist suddenly? I don't think so. Well, this latter-day attempt to rebrand himself...
Biden has been bought and paid for by the world elites, and he's been in China's pocket and the Chinese elites forever. Should be in prison. So should his son.
As some sort of liberal Pat Buchanan on trade and manufacturing is a complete and utter farce. Instead of America first, Biden's policies have always put American workers last. And after Biden's speech yesterday, the day before, come on, you might have...
Has always put American workers last. Think about that. We're in serious trouble as it is already. Some of the elites have wanted to destroy this country several ways. Morally, financially, politically, and religiously. And the key of that is also destroying the homes. Biden is pro all those things as far as destroying America. And he has no cognitive ability. He'll be replaced by his vice president, whoever that is.
Have been wondering, where have you...
Which reminds me, why hasn't his vice president choice been talked about? Something really wrong with that picture. Maybe it's just they know that he's not going to get in.
I've heard all that before.
When the federal government spends taxpayers' money, we should use it to buy American products and support American jobs.
We'll always live by two simple rules: buy American and hire American.
Well, Trump, of course, sees right through what Biden's trying to do.
He plagiarized from me, but he can never pull it off. He likes plagiarizing.
No, of course, a little joke about Biden's problem with that Neil Kinnock speech all those years ago. Biden's progressive cheerleaders, they know that Trump's full-throated embrace of economic nationalism, it's one of his strongest appeals. Thus, they've tried to co-opt the message.
He's being very intentional about who's been left out of this economy.
This gal doesn't even know that she's American. She doesn't even know what race she is. She's lied about everything she can do, and she's manipulated everything she can do to get in. To throw Elizabeth Warren in the trash also.
Right. We are really encouraging everybody and giving them opportunities to participate in this economy.
Yeah, look at all the race baiting, sexual baiting, other baiting, political baiting. You guys suck. Criminal.
It will be transformative.
Yeah, you guys are transformative as a muddy water with all the streets going down it.
Transformative? Any cursory look at Biden's long record demonstrates he's a staunch, unrepentant globalist on trade, on immigration, and of course on foreign affairs. He's been on the opposite side of Trump on every major policy battle. President Biden will install globalists in key positions in the State Department and the Pentagon, taking us back to the Obama days of constantly apologizing to the world for our past sins and giving China and Europe basically whatever they want. Remember back in 2011, Biden was actually rooting on China.
There's a debate here in the United States, and quite frankly throughout most of the West, is whether a rising China was in the interest of the United States and the wider world. As a young member of the Foreign Relations Committee, I wrote and I said, and I believe then what I believe now, that a rising China is a positive development. not only for China, but for America and the world writ large.
Yeah, yada yada. That's when he could actually speak and had a brain. Listen to him now. He can't even say 2 or 3 coherent sentences. And Tanya West is totally right. Why in the hell is he even a candidate in the Democratic Party? There's something really wrong with that.
Large.
just that line alone should completely disqualify him from the presidency. How's that work out for Hong Kong, Joe? Could have been more wrong on more issues? And do not think for a second that things are going to calm down on the domestic front if Biden's elected.
That's for sure. Now let's be clear about China and what they're doing. They are threatening Taiwan. They're threatening Indonesia, different Indonesian countries. They're threatening the Philippines. We've had to put military out between the Philippines and China and out against Taiwan and China. It's insane. China is a loose pistol in that area and could care less about what it does or what it takes over. And they are mercifulness. CCP is mercifulness. Look what they've done not to Hong Kong, but look what they've done to the world. They've done to Africa, Central South America. Look at their projects and their abuses of trade and the abuses of technology and the abuses of engineering, abuses of dams. China, when you get into its politics, is always has the upper hand, always.
The left will be emboldened, not chastened by a Biden win. Retribution will be a dividend for the squad in the Biden era. And it's just going to get worse.
Now will the squad come after Biden and make him look like a wimp and a mindless idiot, which he already is. But it will embolden both the squad and the civic unrest and the abuses in the red states and red cities. I said red, but anyhow, the blue cities and blue states, excuse me. Blue cities and the blue states. People are already fleeing to the red states and the red cities. And the blue states and the blue cities, the blue counties, they're in serious trouble. We've got a civil war going on in the United States. We don't need a Biden in control.
Worse. They don't want you to worry about cancel culture. In fact, AOC says, check your privilege tweeting. The term cancel culture comes from entitlement. Odds are you're not actually canceled. You're just being challenged, held accountable, or unliked. Well, tell that to those who lost their livelihoods. We're going to talk to a man who's being subject to the cancel.
Well, not only that, but like I said, when you're defunding the police, when you're causing civil unrest, when you're encouraging crimes in your judiciary, in FBI, DOJ, presidency, and internationally, you should be in prison. Biden should be in prison, both Hunter and President Biden, Joe Biden. Both Joe and Hunter should be in prison. Because our judicial system is so corrupt, they're not. Clinton should be in prison. Obama should be in prison. Because our judicial system is so corrupt, they're not. Make no mistake about it, we're going to be in war in one form or another until Christ comes. Period. Period.
Culture in just a few moments. And if you think it's all bad now, just wait until a Biden administration. If anyone, including any company, does something the left doesn't like, they'll come under DOJ scrutiny. And the Bill of Rights is not going to do much good.
They've already proven they're going to go after the Bill of Rights. They've already proven that they're going to go after corporations. They're conservative. They've already proven that they're going to go after conservative groups, Tea Party, other groups. We're at war. In every way, shape, and form. Trump has to get in. His son or someone else as good as his son needs to get in after him and have 8 years of that. And then we need a following conservative president to bring us into the time when Christ is going to come. That's how close we are.
Good for you. After all, that was written by a bunch of old dead white slaveholders. Moments like the Tea Party will be treated, I don't know, like moments for domestic terrorists. Black Lives Matter, they'll be treated like heroes. Religious people, at least the ones that don't go along with the radical left, will be investigated for hate crimes.
They're already doing it. This just shows you how wicked and bad it is getting, and it will become worse. Worse. Even with spineless Republicans not doing what they need and not cleaning this up. The future's not bright socially, politically, morally because of weak politicians. We're going to have to fight like hell to make it better. And make no mistake that the whole world is fighting to make things better. And it will continue to be a battle until Christ comes.
Heck, Biden already threatened to rescind the Obamacare exemption for groups like Little Sisters of the Poor after that Supreme Court decision the other day. And homeschoolers, forget it. You're going to face such strict controls, you'll just go back to public school. College and high school sports teams, they're going to be in trouble. And media companies, they'll face pressure by the FCC and other regulatory bodies. And if you take the Biden administration to court because you want to challenge any of this stuff, well, you're going to find that it has at least 5 justices in Washington to act as its rubber stamp. Meanwhile, laws that are on the books that they don't like will become meaningless. No more enforcement of the immigration or drug laws. Bienvenidos a todos. Of course, crime will rise as cops are taken off the streets and replaced with left-wing social workers and therapists. Biden has already moved away and way, way, way to the left on that issue.
The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy.
Do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely a sham.
Wow. And good luck complaining about any of this to the press. After all, they've nothing more at this point than the propaganda arm of the DNC. If Biden actually wins, they'll work even harder to protect him.
There is no scenario where Donald Trump even competes with Joe Biden, who...
I'm going to get past this because I'd like to punch these people in the face. I'd like to punch them in the face.
He's going to figure out a way to be shielded by private security and their gated communities. That's why. That's the way it works in countries like Mexico and in Guatemala. And that's where we're headed under Biden. For a long time, many of you have been very happy that you don't have to live in left-wing cities like Baltimore or New York or San Francisco. But in just a few months, you may find out exactly what it's like. Finally, let's not forget that a vote for Biden is a vote to erase our history, our national memory, and our traditions. Which brings us to the riots. Most people on the right, they're frustrated about the ongoing destruction, but for now it's mostly contained in areas where the rioters feel safe. The mayors of Chicago and St. Louis are never going to arrest and prosecute these thugs. Yet that's only true so long as Republicans hold the White House. If the left gets control of the DOJ, the rioters are going to feel safe from prosecution.
Now let's be a little more truthful about this too. Fox is a little slanted and likes to play both sides. But the business owners, not only in Minneapolis, not only in Washington, Seattle, and in other places, they're saying you can have it. They're pulling their businesses out, going to safer cities, and safer states. There's mass exits on this, mass, and millions of dollars being lost. The businesses in revenues and other things. Make no mistake about it. We are in a civil war like we've never seen.
Almost anywhere. In fact, they'll know that anyone who interferes with them will risk federal investigation. Biden won't have to order people to do much of anything like, what, blow up the Mount Rushmore? No, he's not going to do that. He just won't do anything to stop or punish the folks who try to. As Nancy Pelosi says,
I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by
This gal is another one that needs to be in jail.
so much hatred toward our country and the media. I know it's really tempting to tune it all out and say, I'm not looking at it, hide our heads under the covers and wait for the storm to pass. But this isn't a storm, and it's not going to pass. It's a vicious and well-funded movement to take away your power and your money and give them to people who want to crush you.
Now, she said some real stuff there. Corporations are going to have to fight for their liberties, their power, and their money, even more than they currently are. And for a workforce, even more than they are. Walmart is struggling and just barely able to keep afloat, employee-wise. People are leaving that company. Look at the shortages, look at the staff shortages. They have to go there because they're broke, but they don't enjoy going there. We're going to see a cultural shift and change in this next 10 years we didn't even think was possible. And the survival of this nation and world depends on what happens in governments and what people do with their monies, their corporations, their dollar, their political muscle and might, their political dollar, their buying dollar.
But patriotic Americans are starting to resist this unconstitutional series of edicts and actions of their mayors and their governors. And young and old alike must respectfully refuse to submit to this new normal that keeps us out of work, out of churches, and out of schools. We have to teach the Democratic Party once and for all that attacking us and aligning with the radical socialist fringe is going to cost them dearly. And we can absolutely do this. We've beaten the left many times before, and we can do so again. In November, a vote for Trump is a vote to preserve the thing that makes America the best country on earth.
It will take more than voting. It will take more than political participation. It will take more than aligning with corporations that have conservative powers and muscle and might. It will take a greater unity in Christ. It will take a greater unity in our freedoms and our nation. It will take a greater unity worldwide. And believe me, that's where it's headed. That's where it's going. This thing with nationalism is going worldwide. But Trump is set to lead the stage, worldwide stage on that. And he will. But we also need it with his son or someone else that comes in behind him. We'll need another 8 years of someone just as tough and smart as Trump. Probably his son, Donald Jr. We'll see what happens. But we're going to need that. And we're going to need another 4 years after 2 terms of another tough president. And then Christ will be here by that time. So I'm just telling you, that's where it's at. Lodge Market, Billings, Montana. The battle is on. We can believe it and bank on it. It's not going away. We need Donald Trump Jr. to run the next presidency for 8 years. Okay, good day.